Then we've got backstage Hall and Nash saying Hall's better than Austin after Hall had lost to Austin. Hogan then joins them and asks them to stay away from the ring as he has to do this on his own as he gets ready for his match with The Rock. Hall and Nash clearly aren't looking convinced about that approach. Then it's the video package for The Rock versus Hulk Hogan. Hogan says the fans drove him away and says he's the biggest star in wrestling. The Rock then challenges Hogan to a match at WrestleMania, and Hogan accepts the challenge, and The Rock hits the rock bottom. Then various moments leading to this show. It's all ahead of Hogan versus The Rock, a 16.5-minute match, which is won by The Rock after he hits the people's elbow. After the match, Hogan struggles to his feet and then extends a hand for The Rock, looking all sad and clutching his ribs as only Hogan does. Hall and Nash then confront Hogan and attack him. The Rock runs in and makes a save. Then The Rock encourages Hogan, who's about to leave, to join him in a pose in front of the crowd. The crowd love it. They then leave the ring together. Stephen, you were at the show.
Yep.
Were you one of the people booing The Rock?
Was I one of the people booing The Rock? I don't know. I don't think I was really, because I didn't have. I've written in my notes I didn't have a dog in this fight, but my friend Lewis, who I was with, is no, I wouldn't say the world's biggest Rock fan because that's giving him too many plaudits, but he's a very big Rock fan. And not to skip too far forward, but during the Hulk up spot, I looked at him and he had genuine fear in his eyes that this, because he was like, Austin beat The Rock last year. I spent all this money on this. Is Hulk Hogan going to beat The Rock here? And he was so scared. But I don't think I just kind of watched this and just drunk it in. I did get into cheering for Hogan. I was one of these stupid brats that didn't like Rock going to Hollywood. And now 20 whatever years on, I feel like a bit of an idiot for that. And he played it up very nicely the following year. But no, sorry. That's that question answered. Yeah, no, I wasn't.
So tell me, what did you think of the match?
The pre-match video was tremendous aside from the vehicle stuff, and I just thought this was an absolute moment in time. As I said, I didn't have a particular favourite in this, so I could just enjoy it. And I thought The Rock deserved so much praise for going with the crowd and healing it up. While he'd been everywhere and done everything, we're talking about a guy with about 7 years of experience at this point, not some sort of multi-decade veteran. Hulk as well, his mannerisms, a glance to the crowd. This is why this guy drew at such a high level and was the person to strap the rocket ship to in 1984. Just, charisma at an altogether higher level. I enjoyed Hulk Hogan tapping to the sharpshooter, even though it would have been better had Bret Hart had it on. I rewound the bit from the rock bottom Hogan kick out to Rock kicking out the leg drop. That is just like, if you want to show someone 30 seconds of professional wrestling, crikey, this has got to be up there. I'd probably say this was something to show someone rather than a triple flip moonsault or something. This was pure electric magic, and I don't even care about some of the more awkward moments in this match. I thought this was absolute wrestling perfection from start to finish. 5 stars all day long.
That's quite the glowing review, that is. For the most part, I do. In fact, I'm gonna start with the bits that I don't like. I actually think this is aged just a little bit. Not massively, but just a little bit. So I didn't quite enjoy it as much as I did the first time round. Now, getting that bit out of the way, you want to talk, and we've certainly mentioned, how great Hogan is with the crowd. You want to talk about a masterclass in getting people on your side and invested in what you're doing. Exhibit A. Here it is. Hogan was so bloody good at getting people involved in what he was doing. In terms of, move-wise, hold for hold, no, it wasn't the most technically proficient match you've ever seen, but you know what? It didn't need to be. It really didn't need to be. And there's not many matches of that type that I would enjoy as much, because I'll admit I do prefer the sort of frills, so to speak, in terms of matches. But the crowd support was just so bloody enormous for them both. Well, I say for them both. I mean, it was loud, but yeah, let's face it, this was a Hogan crowd, which, on a side note, at the time of watching this, I can't remember if I genuinely didn't know who Hulk Hogan was or was very unfamiliar with him. I'll definitely say I was definitely very unfamiliar with him. So when The Rock got booed to the extent he did at the time, baffled me. I was thinking, why are people? It's The Rock. Just didn't understand it. And I didn't understand the importance of the match as well. And looking back at it now, it's quite funny because I remember in school at one point, I had a free lesson and I was dying to watch this. So I thought, right, yeah, I'm going to stick this on. And I remember a teacher in my class, shout out to Mike Oliver from Lewis School Pengham, who was one of the best teachers I ever had, saw that I was watching this match. He wasn't a big wrestling fan, but he was aware of it. And he stopped what he was doing and came up and sat down and watched it. He was like, Hulk Hogan's still here. And I obviously had to, give him a little bit of context and everything. But he's like, wow, it's Hogan. And he super got into it. So even then I was like, wow, I guess this Hogan fella was a big deal, which, is just laughable for me to think of it now. But in terms of the match, I mean, I can tell you how memorable it was for me. When I was taking notes for this, from the Hulk up spot for the rest of the match, I didn't have to take a single note because I remembered exactly what happened, when it happened, because it still is burned into my brain because it was such a big deal. The Hulk up spot was just great. It was one of the best Hulk up spots I've really ever seen. The commentary from JR, everybody has their favorite sort of commentary call, but Jim Ross losing his friggin' mind, saying he beat Andre the Giant with that move on that. That's my favorite Jim Ross call ever. Like, I know a lot of people think about like the Mankind off the Hell in a Cell. Nah, Jim Ross saying that will forever be in my brain as the best call he's ever made. The finish of The Rock getting the people's elbow I thought was great. Definitely felt the right man won. Obviously, it was meant to be heel versus babyface, in terms of that dynamic. Didn't perhaps go that way. And I think The Rock sort of saw the writing on the wall and kind of tried to adapt to it mid-match by, doing some subtle heel things. The way he tried to rake the ref after a ref bump was quite aggressive. Like at one point he sort of, when Hogan and Rock were shoving each other back and forth, he sort of shoved him, was like, and like the look on his face was quite aggressive. And I felt they went with it. Post-match, NWO beatdown, okay, do you know what? They thought, yeah, he's Hogan's babyface, let's go with it. And doing the whole pose down was great. Rock was quite funny, trying to get Hogan to pose. Yeah, I mean, like I said, again, you want to see a masterclass of people not having to do that much, but still getting over. Exhibit A.
I'm a little bit on your side, Matt, here. I didn't like it as much as I did at the time. I really did like it at the time, and I watched it a number of times in the weeks after the show just to kind of re-experience what was a phenomenal atmosphere, just an incredible atmosphere, and just phenomenal the reaction to Hogan, and in particular when he kicks out of the rock bottom and hulks up, and that bit is just wow, absolutely chills. But there was something holding me back, and I think again it's that the emotion of the thing for me. I really hate the fan reaction to The Rock. I just absolutely hate it because in context of Hogan as well, if some of it is about The Rock's going off to make another movie, well, Hogan did that. Hogan's already done it. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Also, throughout this period, and this is where I kind of really have to big up The Rock, and I've never considered The Rock to be the best, if you like, although I think he's phenomenal. But during this period, The Rock's the only one who's got the self-confidence and also just goes with it. Here he is. Austin refuses the match with Hogan, so they give it to The Rock. The Rock just goes, I'll do it. I know he's going to be like this. I know what he's going to be like, but it's fine. I'm confident enough that I can bat it away. Even if they do boo me during this match, I will still be a massive star, and I'll just go ahead and do it. Does this on the way out of the company, loses to Lesnar clean, loses to Goldberg clean. Absolutely top professional, 100% during this period. And this was just another part of that. And I just thought that's why it really pisses me off, the fan reaction to The Rock. Because I just feel like you guys think you're all insider and really clever because The Rock's going off to go and film some movie, and that's why you're booing him. But if you want insider, if you want really to appreciate the people that are doing the best for you and your viewing pleasure, look at The Rock, because he is that man. He is the one doing everything he possibly can to ensure that they're stars when he goes on the way out, and that he just does what he's got to do, gets in there and does the work that he's supposed to. And that really took a notch off the match for me. And I know that's ridiculous because it's nothing to do with what happens in the ring, but it is so key to the reactions of the fans in this match. And I felt very similar at the time. I think I wasn't able to articulate those feelings like I can now, which is why I really liked the match a bit more than I do now. I still think it's phenomenal. It's a great piece of work. And I do love that they have to do so little to elicit the reaction. And I think all wrestling could be still like this, if I'm honest. But everybody's trying to do everything every single match, back to Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks in a 6-man tag match, third match on the show in the first hour of a 4-hour event, trying to put on a 5-star classic, not only undercutting everything that comes after it, but also raising the bar for what everybody has to put themselves through in order to elicit a reaction. It's counterproductive in my view. It doesn't do anything for anybody. It's what leads to us needing, masses of painkillers, and what leads to painkiller addiction ultimately, because everybody has to throw themselves off stuff. Everyone has to do stupid stuff all of the time just because nobody's willing to go, actually, I'm third on the show, I should probably rein it in a bit here and just have a standard decent little match.
I think that's reflective of, there's no one in wrestling today, not Reigns, not even Cody, that are anywhere near as over as these two were, or Steve Austin was at his pomp. And I guess that, it's the old saying, isn't it? You do all the flips to try and get over on the indies, but that's the thing. I guess in AEW you could certainly make an argument that they've not tried to push the people to try and get someone through to that level in the right way. But going back to The Rock, I think in hindsight's certainly for me, hindsight's a wonderful thing, because as I said, I was one of these people. I was like, I really want The Rock around. You sold out, all this sort of crap. And actually, I kind of changed my mind a little bit the year after this. The night after WrestleMania 19, but he was brilliant all night long in Seattle. I think it was Rock Appreciation Night or something, was it, Matt? Do you remember? And then Goldberg came out and killed him at the end. And then afterwards, everyone was like, Rocky sucks, Rocky sucks. Sure, this is on like a WrestleMania DVD or something somewhere. And he babyface, like that crowd, the Key Arena in Seattle, whatever it was, 12,000. By the end, everyone, me included, I was booing him out the building, was chanting Rocky, and I'm like, he's got me. Because as you said, Ben, he had the confidence just to go with this. This isn't a 20-year veteran. This is someone that's been around 6 or 7 years, and he just had the confidence. And to be fair to him, you're absolutely right. And I hadn't really thought about it too much about, Rock was always selfless, but what he's done on the way out of the company, he agreed to come back for a run, like a 3-year program with Cena, where the eventual result is The Rock loses. And he worked with CM Punk a couple of times during that time as well. And I think he did quite a lot for Punk, in that match at the Royal Rumble that did a really good buy rate as well. So props to him. But yeah, The Rock is one of the best all time and just incredible. And I think he is certainly someone that I look back on more fondly than maybe I did at the time.
The fan resentment towards, the Rock for going away to do a film. And not just that, but because it still goes on even today, when they say, they sold out and part-timers. And I can't stand this just mentality of just going after people for things like that. Like I think Brock Lesnar is a prime example, and you see it online, and you probably heard people say that, I hate this Brock Lesnar because he doesn't love the business, he's a businessman, and wrestling is a job, people. For these people, it's their job. If he can get as much money for his limited dates, and this is for any wrestler, great. It's just that some fans have this idea of they have to do it for the love of it and the art. And I know that's just a slight sort of rant aside, but I just had to put that out there a minute.
I mean, I've got conflicting thoughts about that, because I do agree with you. Ultimately, I am all about those people who do business well, and is the one reason why I actually really quite like Cody Rhodes, because I think he has absolutely aced the business side of the business in terms of, as I say, going from being the lowest ebb he could possibly have been at in AEW, getting to himself into the best position he possibly could have been at in WWE. That is some excellent business that he's doing. So I love that. But I also understand why fans don't like it when they know a wrestler doesn't love the business, because that's not very inspiring. That's the thing. That's not a particularly inspiring thing from your big stars. If they don't really love this thing, don't get me wrong, I don't mind in the cold light of day that they don't love it. But it's nice to think they do, because that's more inspiring, isn't it? As you're watching somebody do this thing, it's nice to think that they really love it, because that is much more romantic than this guy just shows up and does his job. So I kind of understand why fans don't like that. In The Rock's case, I just think, as I say, he just always did business. And I just think that he did business the right way, conducted himself the right way. Rock is a guy that came in, did his work, got out, kept his body in a decent shape, didn't kill himself doing this thing like so many of his peers did, used it to create another career, lucrative career elsewhere, and then still comes back. The Rock, by the way, does love the business. He loves the business. You can tell. And so this is that doesn't even apply in his case. And I just think anybody who wants to take a shot at him for whatever, it's just stupid. Because in my view, nobody has done the things that people want wrestlers to do more than The Rock, in the sense of putting people over on the way out. Match, I'm giving a kind of 4-star. There's something about it that just lacks for me, and I'm not the guy usually who would be worried about needing great moves or anything. I was kind of like, it doesn't really matter who wins or loses. I think is my problem with it at the end. It doesn't really matter because this is more about the Hogan is a star again show, and I think that's the other problem for me is that Hogan wasn't even a star. That's what really pisses me off. By this point, nobody wanted to watch Hogan. Like, when I say by this point, before this point. Go back to WCW 99-2000. He couldn't draw a lick. He was no longer a star. Suddenly, he is. And I was just like, I don't want Hogan here. I just don't want him anywhere near this product. And it's the other thing for me is it's not nostalgic for me. I wasn't a fan during the Hogan era. So I'm like, in WWF anyway. So I was like, this isn't even nostalgic. So it's a great match, but it doesn't for me hit that sort of top tier of matches.